This isn't just a book. It's a series of private notes from the man who ruled the entire known world. What we have here is a rare, completely unfiltered look inside the mind of one of history's most powerful figures, as he struggled not to conquer others, but to conquer himself. And his private words, well, they reveal a timeless blueprint for inner strength.
And this right here, this single idea, is the key that unlocks everything that follows. It's the central premise of Stoicism, and it's the foundation upon which an emperor, surrounded by absolute chaos, had to build an unshakable inner fortress.
So, how did he do it? That really is the central tension of this whole work. And it's a question that feels more relevant today than maybe ever before. So often we look for answers in external things, achievements, possessions, but Marcus Aurelius, a man who had everything the world could possibly offer, he looked inward.
To really understand his words, you have to understand his world. This wasn't some abstract theory cooked up in a comfortable study. His philosophy was forged in the fire of the battlefield, in the grief of a plague that was tearing his empire apart, and in the sting of betrayal from people he was supposed to trust. This was a philosophy for survival.
And this part is absolutely crucial. Meditations was never meant for you or me. It was his personal diary, a series of conversations with himself, literally his private toolkit for just getting through the day. And that's what makes it so raw, so honest, and so incredibly powerful.
Okay, so what was this system he developed for himself? I think the best way to think of it is like a mental operating system, a practical, no-nonsense framework designed to navigate the inevitable challenges of just being human.
To really get what Stoicism is, it helps to understand what it isn't. The Epicureans, for example, they sought something called ataraxia, basically a freedom from disturbance, a state of calm pleasure. But the Stoics were after something tougher, apatheia. Now, this isn't apathy like we think of it today. It's a state of emotional resilience, and you don't get there by suppressing your feelings, but by mastering them with reason. So the first tool in this operating system is a pretty radical shift in perspective. Marcus constantly practiced what's called the view from above. He would literally zoom out from his immediate anxieties to see his own life against the vast backdrop of the cosmos and the infinite sweep of time.
And you can really hear that perspective shift in this quote. It reframes your whole sense of belonging. Marcus saw himself not just as the emperor of Rome, but as a citizen of the universe. And from that high up, things like personal insults, career setbacks, even betrayals, they all start to look profoundly small. Just temporary glitches in a vast, interconnected whole.
All right, this second core idea is even more demanding. It's one thing to just endure what happens to you, right? To just grit your teeth and bear it. But it is another thing entirely to love it. Amor fati, the love of your fate, is the practice of not just accepting, but embracing every single moment as necessary and essential.
I mean, think about how that mindset transforms reality. An obstacle is no longer a roadblock. The obstacle is the path. A betrayal isn't just a wound, it's a chance to practice forgiveness. He literally trained himself to see the good in what is, finding beauty in the weirdest incidental details like the cracks on a loaf of bread.
So this all sounds great in theory, but how did he actually move this from an idea to a daily practice? Let's take a look inside his mind and see how he put these tools to work under the immense pressures of his job.
The very first book of meditation starts with an act of profound humility. Instead of listing his own titles or victories, the most powerful man in the world makes a list of what he owes to other people. The gentleness he learned from his grandfather, the desire for true liberty from his teacher Apollonius. This practice grounded him in gratitude, not in arrogance.
And this is one of the most vivid exercises in the entire book. He would systematically strip fancy objects of all their cultural baggage just to see them for what they really are. A fine wine? It's just fermented grape juice. And the royal purple robe, this incredible symbol of power, it's nothing more than sheep's wool stained with the guts of a sea snail. Doing this just dissolves desire and fear by showing you the plain, unvarnished truth of things.
So that brings us to the big question. Why does a 2,000-year-old private journal from a Roman emperor still connect so deeply with millions of people today?
I think its power comes from its privacy. This is not a man preaching from a pulpit. It's not a philosopher crafting some perfect, airtight argument for his students. This is a man talking to himself, reminding himself what he believes in, wrestling with his own flaws, and just trying, day by day, to be a little bit better. There's no performance.
Yeah, this quote from the book's introduction just nails it. The sincerity is what pulls you in. You feel like you're listening to the genuine struggles of another human being who just happened to be an emperor, and in his struggles, you can't help but see your own.
And it's that sincerity that makes his mental toolkit feel so real and so effective. So if we were going to distill this entire operating system into a kind of daily workout for the mind, what would that look like? Well, it really comes down to 3 core exercises for building that inner strength. First, practice objectivity. See the shellfish blood, not the royal robe. Second, embrace impermanence. Remind yourself that you, your problems, your successes, they're all just passing through. Like he says, Alexander the Great and his mule driver both ended up in the same place. And third, focus on virtue. The only thing you ever truly control is your own character and how you choose to respond. That's it. That's the heart of Stoic power.
And to really understand this unique worldview, it's fascinating to compare it to another classic of spiritual guidance, like The Imitation of Christ. Both books are about self-control, about overcoming your passions. But where the Christian path emphasizes humility and a deep reliance on God, the Roman path is one of, well, modest self-reliance. Marcus appeals to his own soul, his own reason as the final judge and guide. And this is exactly how we bridge that gap between the ancient world and our world today. The real beauty of this toolkit is just how timelessly applicable it is.
Think about it. Marcus faced betrayal from a general. You might face a toxic colleague on Zoom. The principle is exactly the same. Their actions define them, not you. He faced the sheer chaos of war. You face the endless, anxious scroll of social media. The principle holds. You control your mind, not the external noise. He faced a literal plague. We all face our own profound uncertainty. And the Stoic principle is the same. See change as a natural, constant process.
And in the end, that is the core truth of this entire book. Marcus Aurelius wasn't trying to find an escape from the burdens of life. He was trying to forge a soul that was strong enough to bear them. The goal was never a perfect life, but an unbreakable inner peace, no matter what the world decided to throw at him.